So I did a quick calculation on the way in. I was trying to figure out my mileage and how much I just spent at the tank, which was upsetting. And it actually came out to be about 5% of per capita GDP, right? That's what you spend on gas. So we all freak out at the gas pump, but in reality, we're not spending that much money at the gas pump as a percentage of the money we make, especially in this room. So it's good to be an American. But there are lots of reasons why it's good to be an American. And so I want to take you back through some of those. First of all, we live a long time. And so as you know, if you sat down with Perry or Carol Lee or Tripp or Kathy, we have these actuarial tables that say you're going to live to 100, because you might live to 100. In the United States, if you're born today, you get to live to be 80 years old. Thank you to the doctors in the room who are making that happen. If you're in China, you get to live to be 73. You want to be in China or you want to be in the US? And so we get to live a long time as Americans. We also live very well. And so there's actually an index that comes out every year put out by the Legato Foundation, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, that actually uses a multi-factor model to ascertain just how prosperous certain nations are. And so obviously in this chart, the green nations are more prosperous, the black nations not so much. I guess it's tough in Greenland these days. But if you look at the top 10, okay, the US is not number 1. The US is actually number 10. Norway's number 1. They got a lot of oil, by the way. But of the countries on this list, we are enormous compared to these others. So when it comes to big countries, we are by far the most prosperous on the globe. And then, if you consider us against the emerging countries, Brazil, Russia, India, and China, and I've highlighted China here across the multi-factor model, the US scores very well. And so in terms of our economy, yes, China's economy is growing quickly, but it's not nearly as diverse as our economy. It's not nearly as established and mature as our economy. And so when they grade us higher. In terms of entrepreneurship, yes, entrepreneurship is brewing in China. But if you look at the index, the US still ranks highest really on the planet when it comes to entrepreneurship. And if you know, entrepreneurship is what creates innovation, it creates wealth. Facebook has a $50 billion valuation on it. I mean, why I skipped computer science class at Sewanee, you know. But anyway, in terms of governance, we bicker a good bit, but we're a fully developed democracy. That scores high on the index. If you look at education, yes, it's true. Our elementary school system and our high school system is very challenging, but if you get past that, if you get into US colleges and US graduate schools, you're at the top of the food chain. And so on education, we score pretty well. When it comes to health, we have a lot of debate around health in the United States of America, but we score number 1 on the planet. And the reason we do is because we promote a lot of innovation in healthcare. We save a lot of lives, we extend a lot of lives. We are actually number 1, at least in the way they score it. When it comes to safety and security, we lose a lot of points here. This is where we lose in that top 10 chart. Why do we lose points here? Because people who are jealous of us fly airplanes into our buildings. So we lose some points there when it comes to safety and security. How about personal freedom? Well, you can see China on the far left here. I was in a traditional Chinese neighborhood. I watched the police pull up next to some guy. They beat the snot out of him. They threw him in the back of the cop car, and everybody just went around their business, right? Nobody paid a lot of attention to the human rights of that individual, et cetera. But in the United States, when we do that, we have Rodney King, right? I mean, we care a lot about human rights here. And so we score very high on personal freedom in the US. In terms of social capital, we are extremely generous. I don't know where Sharon is, and I don't know how much money we distributed to charities through client accounts last year, but it was a lot. We are a very philanthropic society. And so in the US, we are the top of the large country categories. All right, but we do have concerns, right? So in a recent survey to say what is the most important issue facing the country right now, 50% of us responded unemployment and jobs, okay? 25% of us responded federal deficit and spending. 9% said healthcare. 7% said war. 5% said immigration, and the others said we don't have any problems.